Blessings and namaste, everyone. I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Ray Sette. Thank you once again for offering me this opportunity to share with you my astrological and spiritual insights as we move through the month of November 2018. This year certainly has evolved very, very quickly, and these last few months of this unprecedented year will undoubtedly move just as quickly, if not even more faster. Doesn't it seem as though the last few months of the year, especially October, November, and December, move very, very quickly, much more quickly than the earlier months? And I observe that understanding or that experience as the last few months, 10, 11, and 12, those are the numbers. In numerology, when we get to those higher numbers, they begin connecting us with higher levels of communication, higher vibrational frequencies, which begin to transcend the physical form. And in spirit, as we all know very well, time and space does not exist. So I'm knowing and believing, as we are experiencing the last few months of any year, we are certainly connecting to the higher realms, higher levels of consciousness. We hear of the numbers, to be aware of the number sequences 10, 10, 11, 11, and 12, 12. Certainly those higher levels of knowing and understanding can certainly connect and are reflected to the last few months of the year. And forgive me for going off on a tangent, and sometimes that's what happens when we connect with these sometimes abstract higher levels of understanding and consciousness. I'd like to begin by first highlighting that Uranus, who has been retrograde since August, will dip back into Aries on November 6th. Now, as Uranus transited the sign of Aries, wherever Uranus transit, Uranus awakens us. Uranus is the great awakener. It brings awakenings. It offers us the opportunity to facilitate some very powerful instrumental changes that will allow us to progress very, very quickly on our spiritual journey. In the sign of Aries, Uranus, among many opportunities, it offered us the understanding to recognize how we all can be very entrepreneurial. Large corporations will not necessarily have a place in the coming times, and every one of us who has a service to offer. In fact, we all have some service to offer humanity. As Uranus was transiting the sign of Aries, many of us were given the opportunity, have been offered the opportunity to really recognize how we are certainly all entrepreneurs, and also too, what is our higher calling? Why are we here? And what is it that is required of us to be very instrumental in bringing all of that to form? Now, Uranus will transit the signs of the zodiac for about 7 years. It completes the cycle of the entire zodiac in 84 years, and these numbers are approximation, dependent upon the retrograde phases of Uranus. And the 7-year cycle, it is a cycle of significant change. And obviously the planet of change, as it moves through one sign in 7 years, it offers us the opportunity to awaken and create whatever change is necessary so we can connect with higher levels of understanding of the particular sign, and also to wherever the planet is transiting, moving through, progressing through our astrological charts on a personal level. And as I said many times before, remember, when I offer these insights, these are points of reference for us to fully understand how to implement and make the most of the energy. We have to observe where exactly the phenomena is taking place in our astrological charts. And anyone who has had a consultation, whether it be with myself or anyone else, we understand the significance of how exacting so many of these alignments really need to be in order for us to have a certain experience. You see, everything is measured astrologically in degrees and minutes, and the more exacting the placement of a planet lunation in our chart, we'll feel the effects that much greater, because sometimes we don't really feel the effects of certain astrological phenomenon, and it could be because that specific phenomenon may not be forming an exact aspect alignment to our charts. As I said, Uranus will dip back into Aries on November 6th. It is retrograde, and it will remain retrograde until the early part of next year, and it will move back into the sign of Taurus on March 6th, when it will be fully in Taurus, and we'll touch upon that a little bit later on at that time. Our next new moon is on November 7th, and I am always emphasizing to be aware of the balsamic moon phase before the new moon. And as I've illustrated, the balsamic moon phase is that 3-4 day period that will offer us the opportunity to adequately prepare for what's coming with the next new moon cycle. It's a time of cleansing, clearing, and purging. The balsamic moon begins on November 3rd, and the exact time for that is 11:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That is the preparation phase to really get us in gear and adequately suited for whatever we may be embarking upon on the new moon. Now, our new moon on November 7th, it's in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is the element, the sign of transformation. It's also the sign of power, our innate power to bring all we desire to form. It's our ability to manifest. A lower vibrational frequency of the element of Scorpio is one who is very controlling and tries to control and manipulate others. The higher element of Scorpio is that we become self-empowered. We recognize the power and the light that we have within ourselves, and that we are masters of our destiny. Scorpio is a water sign. It is a very psychic sign. Many of us who have a Scorpio rising find that we sometimes have an oversensitivity to the elements and the energies of the outer world, and we absorb a lot of discordant energy that sometimes runs rampant in the outside world, and we need to continually be aware to cleanse and clear our energy fields. If you are having such experiences, if you are a Scorpio or a Scorpio rising, be aware of how energetically you've become very sensitive to the external experiences and situation. The new moon in the sign of Scorpio is offering us the opportunity to, one, recognize our own personal connection with the spirit realm. It's also a favorable time to do that as the sun transits the sign of Scorpio. However, with this new moon, we may be given the opportunities to really recognize our own psychic abilities, the psychic faculties that might be coming to form within ourselves, our own connections, our own personal connections with the spirit realm. One of the elements I always touch upon during a group experience is that I inspire everyone to recognize their own connection with spirit, your own abilities to connect on an intuitive psychic level. If you have been having a curiosity regarding these abilities of yourselves, or if you're noticing a little bit more of a connection with the spirit realm, this new moon is a favorable opportunity. It's an auspicious opportunity to begin further exploring these wonderful elements about yourself. And the new moon is receiving a beautiful aspect from the ruler of Scorpio, which is Pluto. Pluto is power. It is great power. Pluto connects with atomic power. So if you can imagine the gravity of the atomic power and how forceful and how at times when it's not used properly can be very destructive, that is an example of our creative abilities on a low vibrational frequency. So if you can imagine just the opposite of that. How when we create, especially from a place of love, and the intentions are from a place of love, how wonderful our manifestations can certainly be for ourselves as well as others. This new moon is also offering us the opportunity to recognize we are masters of our destiny, and every one of us has the ability to manifest, to bring to form all that we desire, as well as empower ourselves. Scorpio being the sign of transformation. Wherever Scorpio is located in our astrological chart, that may be the area of our lives where some of the greatest transformations have taken place or may need to take place, depending where we are on our spiritual journey. So again, the new moon is on November 7th at 11:02 a.m. One other significant factor of this new moon is that it is triggering the energies of the August 11th solar eclipse. So be aware of what was taking place for you at that time. Whatever you may have embarked upon that time, this time right now, the 3-month mark, it's a push forward. It's a time to reflect where you've been in these last 3 months, what was presented to you in August, and it's time to move forward with all those situations. And certainly always ask for guidance and clarity from Spirit in whatever manner you may need to advance with whatever has been taking place for you since the August 11th solar eclipse. On November 8th, the day after the new moon, Jupiter, who is the expander, Jupiter is the planet of abundance, it moves into its home sign of Sagittarius. Jupiter requires about a year, sometimes a little bit more than a year, to progress and transit through a sign. It will remain in Sagittarius, I believe, until December 2nd of 2019, so it'll be just a little bit over a year in the sign of Sagittarius. As I said, Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. Wherever Jupiter travel, it expands. Sagittarius, as I've mentioned many times, it is a sign of the higher mind, our higher self. That part of us which we are all connected to, which exists in the spirit realm. And I observe this element of our human potential as being that part of us which has no interference from the physical third dimensional experience. And when we allow this cord, this connection that we all have to our higher mind to be fully cleared, we receive much inspiration and many insights that is shared with us from our higher self. Because our higher self, it looks down from above, if we want to use that third dimensional analogy, and it can see the bigger picture. It can see all the pieces of the puzzle being put together, and it will share with us these elements when we allow ourselves certainly to be clear of our connection with the higher self. As Jupiter transits the sign of Sagittarius, we are offered the opportunity to expand upon this knowing of our higher self. Also, Sagittarius is the sign of inspiration. It's the sign of the philosopher. We can expand upon those elements within ourselves, again, depending upon where Jupiter is transiting in your chart. If this Jupiter transit happens to be in your 9th house, which is the sign of Sagittarius, then you will find yourself having an even greater opportunity to fortify your connection with your higher mind and clear that connection with the higher self. And perhaps you'll find that you will have an expanded time of receiving inspiration and insights and becoming very, very philosophical about yourself or whatever you may be experiencing in your life at this time. And again, Jupiter moves into Sagittarius on November 8th, and it will remain in Sagittarius until about December 2nd of 2019. The Sun will also move into the sign of Sagittarius as it moves into each sign once a year on November 22nd at 4:02 a.m. That begins the sun's transit into the sign of Sagittarius, and the sun will make a connection with Neptune, a conjunction, which is a conjunction is a new moon when two elements occupy the exact same space along the zodiac on November 26th. So perhaps if you are desiring to really fortify your connections with your higher mind and have a greater understanding of this connection with your higher self, when the sun conjuncts Jupiter on November 26th, perhaps that's the time for you to begin this experience. Also, Sagittarius is a sign of publishing. Many of us have been inspired to embark upon an endeavor towards a publishing experience. When the sun connects with Jupiter on November 26th, that is an auspicious moment to begin this cycle of experience. Remember, Jupiter is known as the greater benefic. Jupiter brings blessings wherever it touches in our charts. Jupiter also, when observed and demonstrated from a lower vibrational frequency, Jupiter brings excess, overabundance, extravagance. Sometimes it causes us to be gluttonous at times. However, when we are aware to keep ourselves grounded and balanced, then we may not necessarily have the lower vibrations of that experience, whether it's with a planet's full moon, new moon, or an eclipse. Always, as I always emphasize, clear yourself and remain grounded and remain anchored with the energy of the earth. Our full moon is on November 23rd. Now the full moon, the moon is in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is writing, communication. That's a time certainly for us to become fully aware of how we begin how a part of the manifestation process is through the spoken words. The manifestation process begins with our thoughts and intentions, and the next step of that manifestation process is through the spoken word. Gemini connects with communications, that spoken word. At this full moon, allow yourself to be fully aware of all the energy that you voice and encode in your words, because those words are very much creating our reality. You see, there's somewhat of a common theme going on here when we talked about Scorpio, the ability to manifest. Now we're connecting with Gemini as being the communication element of the manifestation process. Be fully aware of the power of your words at this time. Also, Gemini does connect with writing, as I touched upon with Jupiter, publishing. Perhaps also this full moon may cause you to be fully aware of a writing experience that you may contain within yourselves, which whatever that might be. And this is certainly something that could only be for you on a personal level. Perhaps journaling. We're always inspiring everyone to embark upon journaling experiences. It's a wonderful cathartic experience to help us become very clear and to receive and channel information that Spirit is sharing with us through our writing experiences. I began journaling when I was very, very young, and unfortunately I don't always allow myself or offer myself the opportunity to really journal about my own experiences, because much of what I'm writing about is really offered for others. However, I am very aware of the significance and how that experience for myself personally has certainly assisted in bringing clarity for myself, especially when there are concerns regarding experiences that I'm having in the outside world. Neptune, who has been retrograde since about June 18th, will move direct on November 24th. Neptune has been transiting in the sign of Pisces, and the sign of Pisces, astrologically, it connects with and represents the 12th house in the astrological chart. The 12th house is the house of everything that is hidden. It is the house of the subconscious. It's the area that represents the potential of one's undoing when they're not allowing themselves to be fully aware of how at times there are many elements that often drive us that we're not always aware of. As Neptune has been transiting the sign of Pisces, and in this retrograde phase, we are being given the opportunity to recognize what may be coming to the surface that may be interfering with our ability to, one, bring to form all that we desire, or just experiencing a sense of well-being. Those subconscious, unconscious thoughts that sometimes drive us to engaging experiences, and sometimes we don't even know why. It's because it comes from the subconscious and we're not always fully conscious, aware of those elements. This Neptune retrograde has been giving us the opportunity to really recognize if there is an underlying driving force that may be influencing certain factors of our lives, and to become fully aware of that, provided that we have engaged upon whatever would allow us to recognize those elements and those conditions, such as meditation. During times of meditation, we are being offered many insights to the workings of our subconscious mind and those elements which may sometimes unconsciously influence experiences in our lives. And once we become fully conscious of those conditions, we have the opportunity to correct them and restructure those beliefs and belief systems so that we will receive, or rather we will create, that which is we desire in a much more favorable way. Neptune at times can be very, very tricky. And whenever, as I said many times before, whenever we are given an opportunity to engage in a dance with Neptune, we must do so from within. If we attempt at understanding when Neptune is in play from the outside world, from the third dimension, it will bring us confusion. Neptune can be very nebulous. However, when we go within, that's when we receive the clarity. That's the opportunity that Neptune and Pisces offers us, to go within, employ the element of meditation. That's where the clarity will always come to us, when we're clear, when we're grounded, and when we allow ourselves the opportunity to always go within. Once again, I thank you for allowing me this time to share with you these very brief insights as to what we might be experiencing as we move through November. I will be returning to the Southwest Florida area in about 2 weeks from now. I begin my sessions at the Mystical Moon on November 12th. You can reach out to both centers in Bonita and Fort Myers. They have my schedule and my availability. The schedule is already filling up very, very quickly. I always look forward to sharing my time with you and offering you on a personal level my astrological insights, and inspiring you to really recognize all that Spirit is sharing with you so that you might connect with your greatest potential and choose to bring all of that to form. Also, we are beginning the holiday season already, so as we sometimes become very consumed by the hustle and bustle of all that takes place during this time of year, let's not forget to connect with each other on a personal level. You know, we dedicate so much time to engaging in communication with the electronics, with social media, and yes, all of that can serve a purpose. However, I have observed that it's quite ironic how social media many times causes us to be very antisocial. So perhaps during this holiday season and moving forward, let's connect with each other on a physical, personal level. Let's sit down and communicate with one another. We talked about communication for our full moon at the end of the month. Let's perhaps engage in the opportunities of communicating with each other lovingly, interacting, physically interacting with one another face to face, and enjoying that energy exchange that we can't always, or rather we really don't enjoy when we connect with each other on social media or even over the phone for that matter. So perhaps in this holiday season and moving forward, dedicate a little bit more time to perhaps enjoying physical time with your loved ones, and maybe even those that you've lost communication and contact with. So certainly enjoy this holiday season. Keep yourself safe. Stay in the light. Be blessed, and we will see each other very, very soon. Thank you so much. Namaste. Heaven bless.